The station called Thousand Suns floated in the empty space between three dying stars. It was old, older than most species in the galaxy could remember. The metal walls had seen 1,000 wars begin and end. The great chamber at its center had witnessed the rise and fall of empires. Today, it would witness something new. Captain Park stood at the entrance of the chamber and took a slow breath. Behind him stood his small team. Doctor the adjusted her translator device for the third time. Lieutenant, head of security, kept his hands loose at his sides, but his eyes moved constantly, watching everything. The doors opened. The chamber was massive. 12 platforms rose in a circle around a central stage. On each platform sat representatives of the elder species, the ones who had traveled the stars while humans were still learning to make fire. Park walked forward. His boots made soft sounds on the ancient floor. He could feel the eyes of the galaxy watching him. Some of those eyes were curious. Most were not. The ambassador spoke first. His name was, and he was large. His species looked like mountains given life. Gray skin, 4 arms, and a face that seemed carved from stone. When he spoke, his voice filled the chamber like thunder. "The Council recognizes the delegation from the planet called Earth," said. "You may present your request." Park stepped onto the central stage. He had practiced this speech 100 times. He had studied every word, every pause. He knew it would not matter. He gave the speech anyway. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he began. "Humanity comes before you in peace. We seek membership in your union. We seek protection under your laws. We offer our friendship, our knowledge, and our hope for a shared future among the stars." He spoke for 10 minutes. He talked about Earth's history. He talked about human art and music and science. He talked about their dreams and their determination. When he finished, the chamber was silent. Then the ambassador laughed. It was not a kind sound. It echoed through the chamber like rocks falling down a mountain. Other species joined in. Not all of them, but enough. Park stood still and waited. "Friendship," said, still laughing. "Knowledge, hope." He leaned forward on his platform. "Tell me, human, what is the average of your species?" "Approximately 80 years," Park answered. More laughter. "The lived for 600 years. The crystal beings called the lived for thousands." "And your natural defenses," continued, "claws, armor, venom." "We have none." "Psychic abilities, electromagnetic control, regeneration." "No." Spread his forearms wide. "Then what exactly do you offer us? What could a species of soft, short-lived creatures possibly contribute to the galactic community?" Doctor stepped forward. Her voice was calm and clear. "We offer our minds, our ability to adapt, our creativity and our—" "Your minds," interrupted. "Yes, we have studied your minds. They are adequate, nothing special. You have no telepathy, no shared consciousness, just individual little brains working alone." He shook his massive head. "I have seen your history, humans, war after war, violence after violence. You cannot even stop fighting each other." Opened her mouth to respond, but Park touched her arm gently. She fell silent. The ambassador spoke next. Her name was, and her species looked like insects made of black metal. Her voice clicked and buzzed. "They have studied human biology. You are fragile. Your bones break easily. Your skin tears. You require constant food, water, and sleep. You cannot survive in vacuum. You cannot survive in extreme temperatures. You are, in simple terms, weak." "We have survived many challenges," Park said quietly. "On one planet," replied. "One small planet. The universe is not kind to the weak, human. It eats them." The voting began. Each species cast their decision. One by one, the lights turned red. Not a single vote in humanity's favor. Not even from the species who had said nothing. Not even from the ones who had looked at the human delegation with something like pity. Stood to deliver the final judgment. The Galactic Council has reached its decision. The species known as humanity is classified as a Class 7 primitive world. Earth will not receive membership. Earth will not receive protection. Earth will not receive trade agreements or technology sharing. Until such time as humanity proves itself worthy of recognition, you will be ignored." He paused, and his stone face twisted into something that might have been a smile. "Go home, humans. Enjoy your short lives on your small world. The galaxy has no place for you. Your kind will be forgotten within a single galactic rotation. You are nothing." The chamber fell silent. Every eye turned to Park. They expected anger. They expected begging. They expected the small, soft creature to show its primitive emotions and give them something else to laugh at. Park did none of these things. He simply nodded, a small, polite nod, the kind a person might give when receiving directions to a restroom. Then he turned and walked toward the exit. His team followed without a word. His face was red with anger. His jaw was tight, but they said nothing. They followed their captain in perfect silence. At the door, Park stopped. He turned back to look at the chamber one last time. 12 species watched him, was still smiling. Park met the eyes. He held the gaze for 5 seconds, 6, 7. Then slowly he bowed. It was the bow of his ancestors, deep and formal, the kind given to an opponent before a duel. Then he walked out. In the corridor, grabbed his arm. "Captain, we cannot just accept this. We need to file a protest. We need to." "No," Park said. "But they insulted us. They insulted all of humanity. They called us weak. They called us nothing." Park continued walking toward their ship. "Yes, they did." "And you're not angry." He stopped. When he turned to face her, his eyes were calm. But underneath that calm was something else. Something that made even a man who had killed enemies with his bare hands feel a chill run down his spine. "Doctor," Park said quietly, "I am very angry, but anger means nothing without action. Words mean nothing without proof. They have declared us weak. They have declared us nothing. They believe this because they do not know us. They have never seen what humans can do when they are pushed, when they are cornered, when they are told they are worthless." He started walking again. "We will not protest. We will not beg. We will not waste our breath on speeches. We will go home. We will build. We will prepare. And when the time comes, we will answer them." "Answer them how?" asked. Park reached the airlock of their ship. He looked back at her one more time. Without words. The ship departed from Thousand Suns Station. The Galactic Council returned to its business. The elder species forgot about the small human delegation almost immediately. They had more important things to discuss: trade agreements, territory disputes, the movements of resources and power. They did not notice the quiet ship flying back toward a small planet on the edge of the galaxy. They did not notice the 3 humans sitting in silence, planning. They did not notice the fire that had been lit. They would notice soon enough. The colony of Nu sat on a world of green hills and silver rivers. It was small. Only 15,000 humans lived there. They were farmers and engineers, teachers and builders. They had come to this distant world to start new lives, to grow food, to raise children far from the crowded cities of Earth. They did not know that the Galactic Council had declared them unprotected. They did not know that their names had been added to a list of easy targets. The Dominion knew. Lieutenant woke to the sound of alarms. He was out of bed and dressed in 4 seconds. His training never left him, even after 2 years of peaceful colony life. He grabbed his weapon and ran outside. The sky was on fire. Ships filled the air above Nu, dozens of them. Troop carriers and gunships, painted black like the insects they resembled. They descended through the clouds like a swarm of metal locusts. Ran to the colony's communication center. Inside, a young woman named Shin was already at the controls, her fingers flying across the panel. "How many?" asked. "Scans show 47 ships, estimated ground troops." She paused, her face went pale. 5,000. 5,000 soldiers. against 15,000 colonists, most of whom had never held a weapon. Can you send a message to Earth? Shook her head. They're jamming everything, nothing gets out. Stood still for a moment. He thought about his options. Surrender was one. They would take them as slaves. They would work in mines and factories until they died. Their children would be born into chains. No, that was not an option. He picked up the colony-wide communication device. His voice echoed through every building and knew. This is Lieutenant. They have come to take us as slaves. They think we are weak. They think we will kneel and beg. They are wrong. I am not ordering anyone to fight. I am asking. I am asking every man and woman who refuses to be a slave to meet me at the central square. Bring whatever weapon you have. We will show these creatures what humans are made of. He put down the device, stared at him. Sir, we can't fight 5,000. They have armor. They have advanced weapons. They have never fought humans, said. Not really, not when we're cornered. He walked to the central square. He expected maybe 50 people to show up, 100 if he was lucky. 237 colonists stood waiting for him. Some held farming tools. Some held hunting rifles. A few had military training like himself. Most did not. But every single one of them had the same look in their eyes, the look of people who had decided that death was better than chains. Smiled. It was not a kind smile. All right, he said, here's what we're going to do. The first soldiers landed 3 hours later. They expected to find terrified humans cowering in their homes. They expected easy prey. They found empty streets. The commander, a veteran named, clicked his mandibles in annoyance. Search every building, find them. His soldiers spread out. They moved in groups of 50, their black armor gleaming in the sunlight. They kicked down doors and smashed windows. They found nothing. No humans, no bodies, just empty homes with half-eaten meals on the tables. Then the explosion started. Had spent 2 years studying this colony. He knew every tunnel, every basement, every hidden path. The original settlers had built underground shelters to protect against storms, had turned those shelters into a network of passages that connected the entire colony. The humans were not hiding, they were hunting. A group of 30 soldiers entered a warehouse. They found crates of grain and farming equipment. They did not find the 4 colonists hiding in the ceiling. They did not see the gas canisters until they started releasing their contents. The gas was Doctor's creation. She had arrived on New 6 months ago to study the local plants. One of those plants produced a chemical that affected breathing. In small amounts, it caused mild discomfort. In large amounts, it completely paralyzed their respiratory systems. 30 soldiers collapsed, gasping for air. The 4 colonists dropped from the ceiling and finished them quickly. Across the colony, similar scenes played out. Squads walked into traps. Buildings collapsed on them. Bridges gave way beneath their feet. Fuel lines exploded. Every street became a maze of death. Screamed orders into his communicator. Form larger groups. Stay in the open. Do not enter buildings. His soldiers obeyed. They gathered in the main square, 2,000 strong, safe in numbers, protected by their armor and weapons. They did not look up. Stood on the roof of the colony's tallest building. Beside him stood 20 colonists with hunting rifles. They had spent the last 3 hours moving through the underground tunnels to reach this position. Remember, said quietly, aim for the joints in their armor, the neck, the back of the knees, don't waste shots. They opened fire. They had shields, they had armor, they had advanced technology, but they had gathered in one place, packed together like fish in a barrel. The first volley killed 60. The second killed more. By the time they found cover, 140 lay dead. Was furious. He ordered his troops to storm the building. 500 soldiers charged forward. The building exploded. And his team had already escaped through the tunnels. They emerged on the other side of the colony and began their next attack. The battle lasted 7 hours. 7 hours of chaos and blood and fire. They had numbers and technology. The humans had knowledge of the terrain, endless tunnels, and a complete refusal to surrender. As the sun rose over Nu, stood among the ruins of his invasion force. Of the 5,000 soldiers he had landed, only 43 remained alive. 43 out of 5,000. He looked around at the empty streets. Somewhere in the distance he could hear human voices singing, actually singing, a song of victory. His communicator crackled. One of the ships overhead spoke. "Commander, what are your orders?" Was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke two words he had never spoken in his entire military career. "Full retreat." The ships fled Nu. They left behind their dead, their weapons, and their pride. Stood in the central square as the last ship disappeared into the sky. Around him, colonists emerged from the tunnels. Some were wounded, some were crying. 62 humans had died in the battle, 62 people who would never see their families again. But 15,000 humans remained free. Approached him. Her arm was bandaged and her face was covered in dirt, but she was smiling. "We did it," she said. Nodded slowly. "Yes, we did." "What happens now?" He looked up at the sky where the ships had disappeared. Now the galaxy learned something important. "What's that?" Turned to face her. His eyes were tired but hard as iron. "They learned that humans don't need claws or armor or psychic powers. They learned that when you push us into a corner, when you try to take our freedom, we become something else entirely. They declared us weak. Today, we gave our answer." 3 days later, the footage from Nu reached the Galactic Council. The elder species watched in silence as 200 humans destroyed an army of 5,000. The ambassador watched the footage 3 times. He did not laugh. He did not speak. For the first time in his 600 years of life, he felt something he had never felt before. Doubt. 2 years passed. The galaxy continued to turn. Trade ships flew between worlds. Empires made deals and broke promises. The elder species lived their long lives and forgot about the small battle on a distant colony world. But humanity did not forget. On the dark side of Earth's moon, something was growing. The shipyards of Luna Station worked day and night. Sparks flew in the darkness of space as workers welded metal plates to frames. Engineers argued over designs. Scientists tested new technologies. And at the center of it all stood a woman named Bay. She was small. She wore simple clothes and kept her hair tied back in a practical bun. She had spent her youth mining asteroids, crawling through tight spaces in zero gravity, learning how machines worked by taking them apart and putting them back together. Now she was building ships that would change the galaxy. "The Council designs their ships for comfort," she told her team. "They build them big and slow because they have centuries to get where they're going. We don't have that luxury. We need speed. We need efficiency. We need ships that can hit hard and disappear before the enemy knows what happened." The result was the class destroyer. It was small compared to Council ships, only 200 meters long, but it was fast, 15% faster than anything else in the galaxy. It could turn on a point and accelerate like a bullet. It carried weapons that Bay had designed herself, based on mining equipment modified for war. The first ship launched 6 months after Nu. By the end of the second year, Earth had 47 of them. Admiral commanded the fleet. She was 53 years old, with gray streaks in her black hair and lines on her face from years of hard work. She had started her career hauling ore between asteroid mines. She had ended it as the most feared military commander in human history. "The Council thinks war is about numbers," she told her captains. "They think the side with more ships wins. They're wrong. War is about information. Know where your enemy is. Know what they're doing. Strike where they don't expect. Disappear before they can respond." They began losing ships. It started slowly. A cargo vessel here, a transport there. Ships would leave port and never arrive at their destination. Search parties found them drifting in space, empty and silent. No damage, no bodies, just empty ships floating in the void. The accused pirates. They accused rival species. They accused each other. They never accused humans. After all, what could humans do? They were weak. They were primitive. They were nothing. The losses continued. After 6 months, they had lost 23 ships. After a year, they had lost 51. The council began to notice. Questions were asked. Investigations were launched. Nothing was found. No evidence. No witnesses. No explanations. Representative Shin arrived at Thousand Suns Station on a quiet morning. She was young for a diplomat, only 34 years old. She had short hair, a calm face, and eyes that seemed to look through people rather than at them. She had replaced Captain Park as the leader of Earth's delegation. The ambassador demanded a meeting, stormed into the chamber with his 4 arms waving in anger. His stone face was twisted with rage. "You," he thundered, pointing at Shin, "your species is responsible for the attacks on our ships." Shin looked up at him. She was small. He was massive. She did not seem concerned. "Ambassador," she said, "what attacks do you speak of?" 51 ships, 51 vessels have disappeared in the last year, all of them along routes that pass near human space. You will explain this." Shin tilted her head slightly. "I have no knowledge of these incidents. Perhaps your ships experienced mechanical failures. Perhaps your crews made navigation errors. The universe is dangerous, as you once reminded us." Slammed his fists on the table, the metal dented under the impact. "Do not play games with me, human. We know you are responsible. Do you have evidence?" Was silent. "Do you have witnesses?" More silence. "Do you have anything other than accusations?" Shin smiled. It did not reach her eyes. "If not, then I suggest you improve your security. The galaxy is full of dangers. You told us that yourself 2 years ago. You told us that the universe eats the weak." She stood up. "Perhaps you were right." She walked out of the chamber, watched her go. His hands were shaking with rage, but there was something else in his ancient eyes now, something that looked almost like fear. Far from Thousand Suns Station, in the empty space between star systems, a cargo ship drifted through the darkness. It was carrying valuable minerals from a mining colony. 20 crew members sat at their stations, bored and tired after weeks of travel. They did not see the destroyer until it was already alongside them. Admiral's voice came through their communication system. It was calm and clear. "Vessel, you have 2 choices. Your crew can board the escape pods and leave, or you can stay and die. You have 60 seconds to decide." The captain laughed. "1 ship, you threaten us with 1 ship. We have weapons, we have shields, we." 50 seconds. The captain's laughter faded. He looked at his sensor displays. The human ship was small, but its weapons were pointed directly at his engine core. 1 shot would destroy them. 40 seconds. The crew began moving toward the escape pods. 30 seconds. The captain remained at his station. Pride would not let him flee from a single human ship. 20 seconds. His first officer grabbed his arm. "Captain, please, they will kill us." 10 seconds. The captain looked at the human ship one last time. Then he ran for the escape pods. The crew floated in space and watched as the human destroyer attached cables to their cargo ship. A second human ship appeared from nowhere. Then a third. Working together, they towed the cargo vessel away. The lead ship paused near the escape pods. Admiral's voice came through one more time. "Tell your leaders what happened here. Tell them that humanity remembers. Tell them that we do not forgive. And tell them that this is just the beginning." The ships disappeared into the darkness of space. The rescued crew told their story. The council listened. The other species listened. No one laughed at humanity anymore. In her quarters on Luna Station, Bay worked on new designs. She was building something bigger now, something that would make the destroyers look like toys. On the bridge of her command ship, Admiral studied maps of enemy territory. She was planning something that would change the balance of power forever. And on Thousand Suns Station, Representative Shin sat alone in her room and smiled. The galaxy had called humanity weak. The galaxy had called humanity nothing. Now the galaxy was afraid. But this was only the beginning. The real answer was still coming. The message arrived on every communication channel in the galaxy. The N had signed a treaty, a military alliance. Their combined purpose was simple: contain the human threat. Admiral read the message 3 times. Then she began to laugh. 300 ships, said her first officer, a young man named Han. That's what our intelligence reports say. 300 warships gathering at the edge of space. And their target? Station, our outer colony, 20,000 civilians. Stopped laughing, her face became stone. How long until they arrive? 12 days. 12 days. 300 enemy warships against her 47 destroyers. The numbers were impossible. Any logical commander would retreat, evacuate the colony, and prepare to defend Earth itself. Was not a logical commander. Send a message to all captains, she said. We meet the enemy at. Han stared at her. Admiral, we can't win this fight, the numbers. The numbers say we lose, agreed. But numbers don't know everything. Numbers didn't know about new. Numbers don't know what happens when humans refuse to surrender. She turned to face him. I'm not asking our ships to win, Lieutenant. I'm asking them to do what humans have always done. Stand up, fight back, make the enemy pay for every inch of space. She paused. And maybe, if we're smart enough and brave enough, we might just surprise them. The human fleet departed Luna Station the next morning. 47 destroyers, each one carrying a crew of 50. Less than 2,500 humans against an army of hundreds of thousands. The people of Earth watched them go. They did not cheer. They did not wave flags. They simply stood in silence and watched the ships disappear into the stars. Everyone knew this might be humanity's last stand. Station hung in space like a metal flower. It orbited a gas giant with rings of ice and rock. The asteroid field around it had made the colony possible, providing minerals and water. Now that same asteroid field would become a battlefield. Captain Nam stood on the bridge of her ship, the Silent Answer. She was 40 years old, a former transport pilot who had joined the military after new. She had a husband and 2 children waiting for her on Earth. She tried not to think about them. Admiral's voice came through the communication system. All ships, this is the Admiral. The enemy fleet has entered the system. 312 ships confirmed. They're coming in fast and stupid, all bunched together like they're on parade. A small laugh came from somewhere on the bridge. Even now, humans could find humor in darkness. Here's the plan, continued. We're not going to fight them head-on. We're going to use everything this system has to offer, the asteroid field, the gas giant's gravity, the ice rings. We know this space. They don't. We're going to divide them, confuse them, and hurt them. We're going to make them afraid. She paused, and when they're afraid enough, we're going to give them a choice. Leave or die, any questions? There were none. Good, all ships, take your positions. Let's show these insects what humans can do. The battle began at 600 station time. The N fleet charged toward the station in a massive formation. Their ships were huge, designed for long campaigns and overwhelming firepower. They expected the human fleet to meet them in open space, where numbers would decide everything. The human fleet was not there. The first battleship entered the asteroid field. It was easy to navigate, the captain thought. The rocks were large but spread far apart, nothing to worry about. He did not see the mines until they were already detonating. Bay had spent 3 months hiding explosives throughout the asteroid field, small charges attached to rocks, programmed to activate when enemy ships came near. The first battleship lost its shields to the initial blast. The second blast destroyed its engines. The third killed everyone on board. The enemy fleet scattered. Ships moved in different directions, trying to avoid the mines. Their perfect formation became chaos. Human destroyers appeared from behind asteroids. They fired quick bursts at enemy engines and shield generators, then disappeared before return fire could find them. Hit and run, strike and vanish. The tactics of wolves hunting buffalo. The admiral, an ancient creature named himself, screamed orders from his flagship. Stay together, protect each other, do not chase them into the rocks. His captains tried to obey, but the human ships were everywhere and nowhere. They appeared from impossible angles. They fired from behind ice chunks that hid them from sensors. They used the gas giant's gravity to slingshot around the enemy and attack from behind. After 3 hours, the Allied fleet had lost 47 ships. The humans had lost 6. But numbers still mattered. The enemy had plenty of ships to lose. Humanity did not. By hour 5, the human fleet was down to 31 destroyers. They had destroyed over 80 enemy vessels, but they were running out of ammunition, running out of tricks, running out of time. Admiral made a decision. All ships, she said, fall back to the station, prepare for final defense. The human fleet retreated to station. The enemy followed, slower now, more careful. They had learned to respect human tactics, but they still had numbers. They still had victory within reach. The Allied fleet surrounded station, 200 ships against 31. The end was coming. Then the silent answer broke formation. Captain Nam pushed her engines to maximum. Her small destroyer shot forward, diving directly toward the enemy flagship where commanded the combined fleet. Silent answer, what are you doing? Admiral demanded. Return to formation. Nam did not respond. She flew her ship through a storm of weapons fire. Her shields failed. Her hull took damage, but she did not slow down. She reached the flagship and stopped. Her ship floated there, tiny against the massive vessel, weapons silent. Then she began to broadcast. Every ship in the system received her message. Every human, every communication channel in the sector. You came here because you thought us weak, Nam said. Her voice was calm, steady. You see now that we are not. We do not want war. We do not want revenge. We want only to be left in peace. Leave now and this ends. Stay, and we will teach you what humans do when their families are threatened. She paused. On the bridges of enemy ships, thousands of aliens listened. You have lost 80 ships today. You will lose more. Maybe you will win in the end. Maybe you will destroy us all, but you will pay for it. Every ship, every soldier, every officer. We will make you pay in blood and fire and time. And when it's over, when you've finally crushed us, you will look around at what's left of your fleet and you will wonder, was it worth it? Silence filled the communication channels. I am giving you a gift, Nam continued. The gift of walking away. Take it. Go home. Tell your people that humanity is not worth the cost, because if you stay, she let the words hang in the void. If you stay, you will learn why the galaxy should fear us. The silent answer floated alone in the darkness, surrounded by 200 enemy warships. No one fired. On his flagship stared at the tiny human ship. He thought about the last 4 years, the Council's judgment, knew the lost cargo ships, this battle, so many dead, so many ships destroyed, and still the humans would not surrender. Still they fought. Still they refused to kneel. He was 600 years old. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had won wars against species with technology far beyond humanity's. But he had never seen anything like this. He had never seen a species so determined, so stubborn, so willing to die for their freedom. And he realized with a cold shock that the human woman was right. Even if he won today, the cost would be terrible. And tomorrow more humans would come, and the day after that, and the day after that. They would never stop. They would never surrender. They would keep fighting until the last human was dead. Gave the order. The Allied fleet turned away from station. 300 ships became a stream of lights flowing toward the edge of the system. They were retreating, running away, leaving. On the bridge of the Silent Answer, Captain Nam let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Her hands were shaking. Her ship was barely functioning. She had expected to die today. Admiral's voice came through the damaged speakers. Captain Nam, that was either the bravest thing I've ever seen or the... Nam laughed. It was a tired sound. Can it be both? Yes, yes, I think it can. There was warmth in the Admiral's voice, pride. All ships, this is Admiral, we won. Somehow, against all odds, we won. Let's go home. The human fleet limped back toward Earth. They had lost 16 ships and 400 souls. They had faced 300 warships and survived. They had done the impossible. And the galaxy watched. 1 year after the Battle of, the Galactic Council called a special session. Every species sent their representatives. Every ambassador filled their platform. The great chamber of Thousand Suns Station was silent as the doors opened. Representative Shin walked in alone. She wore simple clothes, dark fabric, no decorations. Her hands were empty. No guards followed her. No advisors stood at her side. Just one human woman walking into a room full of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. She stepped onto the central stage and looked around the chamber. 12 platforms, 12 species, the same species that had laughed at humanity 5 years ago, the same species that had called them weak, primitive, worthless. They were not laughing now. The ambassador spoke first. His voice was different than before, quieter, more careful. The Galactic Council thanks the representative of Earth for attending this session. Shin nodded but said nothing. The Council has gathered to discuss the status of humanity in the galactic community, shifted on his platform. After careful consideration of recent events, the Council wishes to extend an offer. He paused. The chamber was completely silent. The Galactic Council hereby offers humanity full membership in our union. Earth will receive protection under our laws. Human ships will have free passage through all Council space. Human colonies will be recognized and defended, and a seat will be created among the elder species for a human representative. The words hung in the air. 5 years ago, humanity had begged for these things. 5 years ago, they had been with laughter and insults. Now the Council was offering everything. Shin did not smile. She did not look surprised. She simply stood there calm and quiet, letting the silence stretch. Representative Shin said, his voice uncertain, "Did you hear the Council's offer?" "I heard it." "And your response?" Shin looked at for a long moment. Then she looked at the ambassador, then at each of the other species one by one. When she finally spoke, her voice was soft but clear. "No." The chamber erupted in whispers. No species had ever refused membership before. It was unthinkable, impossible. Raised his 4 arms for silence. "Representative Shin, perhaps you did not understand. We are offering humanity everything you asked for 5 years ago. Protection, recognition, a place among the elder species. This is an honor that—" "I understood perfectly," Shin interrupted, "and my answer is no." "But why?" Shin stepped forward. Her eyes were hard as steel. 5 years ago, a captain named Park stood on this same stage. He came in peace. He asked for friendship. He offered hope. And you laughed at him. You called his species weak. You called us nothing. You told us that the galaxy would forget we existed. She turned slowly, making sure every ambassador could see her face. "You were wrong, but that is not why I am refusing your offer. I am refusing because you did not make this offer when we were weak. You did not offer us protection when it came to enslave our colonists. You did not offer us membership when they attacked our ships. You only come to us now when we have proven ourselves strong. You offer us respect only because you are afraid of us." Opened his mouth to speak, but Shin continued. "Humanity does not need your protection. We have our own ships, our own soldiers, our own strength. We built it ourselves with no help from you. We defended our people ourselves while you watched and waited to see if we would survive." She paused. The chamber was absolutely silent. "But I did not come here today just to refuse you. I came to deliver a message that humanity wants every species in this galaxy to hear." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small device. She pressed a button and a hologram appeared above the central stage. It showed a planet, blue and green and white, floating in the darkness of space. "This is Earth," Shin said. "Our home. For millions of years we lived on this one small world. We fought each other. We hurt each other. We nearly destroyed ourselves many times, but we survived. We grew. We learned. And eventually we reached for the stars." The hologram changed. Now it showed human ships flying through space, colonies on distant worlds, stations orbiting alien suns. "When we entered the galaxy, we came with open hands. We wanted to trade. We wanted to learn. We wanted to be part of something greater than ourselves. You could have welcomed us. You could have helped us. Instead, you turned us away." The hologram faded. Shin stood alone on the stage. "That was your choice. You chose to treat us as enemies. You chose to see us as prey. And because of that choice, we had to become something else. We had to become warriors. We had to become hard." Her voice dropped lower. "But we do not have to remain enemies forever." She looked at, "They attacked our ships. We answered, that chapter is closed. We do not seek revenge. We do not hold grudges. What is done is done." She looked at the ambassador. "They tried to enslave our people. They failed. Their soldiers died on our soil. We consider that debt paid. We will not hunt your species across the stars." She turned to address the entire chamber. "Humanity will walk its own path. We will protect our own worlds. We will build our own alliances. We do not need the Council's permission to exist." She began walking toward the exit. Then she stopped and turned back one final time. "But know this, we have long memories. The species who showed us kindness in our early days, even when it cost them nothing to be cruel, will find us generous allies. They who said nothing at our judgment but did not laugh. They who traded with us fairly when others refused. We remember. And when they need help, we will answer." Her eyes moved too, and the ambassador. "And those who hurt us, those who mocked us, those who tried to break us, we remember them too." She let the words hang in the air. "We do not forgive easily. We do not trust easily, but we are willing to move forward. If they want peace, they will have peace. If they want trade, they will have trade. We will judge you by your actions from this day forward. The past cannot be changed, but the future is still unwritten." She turned and walked toward the door. "Wait," called out, "if you refuse membership, if you walk your own path, what do you want from us?" Shin stopped at the door. She looked back over her shoulder. "Nothing. We want nothing from you. We never did. All we ever wanted was to be left in peace, to build our own future, to raise our children under our own stars." She smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. "You declared us weak. You declared us nothing. And now, after everything, you ask what we want." She opened the door. "We want what we have always wanted, to be free, to be human, to be ourselves." She stepped through the door. "And that, ambassador, is something you cannot give us. It was never yours to give. It was always ours." The door closed behind her. The chamber remained silent for a long time. Ambassadors looked at each other, unsure what to say. For the first time in the long history of the Galactic Council, a species had refused them, not out of weakness, not out of ignorance, out of strength. Sat on his platform and thought about the small human woman who had just walked out. He thought about Captain Park, who had bowed to him 5 years ago with something hidden behind his calm eyes. He thought about the battle of and the cargo ships that had disappeared, and the colonists who had destroyed an army with farming tools and determination. He had lived for 600 years. He had seen countless species rise and fall. He had thought he understood the universe. He had been wrong. Humanity was not weak. Humanity had never been weak. They had simply been waiting, learning, growing, and now they stood among the stars, unbroken and unafraid. The Council had declared Earth weak, and humanity had answered. Not with words, not with speeches or protests or begging. With actions, with strength, with an iron will that refused to bend. And that answer echoed through the galaxy, louder than any words could ever be. Earth bows to no one. Not now. Not ever.